Hello, we're going to film the class so you guys can see what we did. So our question is, why is the circulatory system necessary? So remember we said all the systems we're going to study, the digestive system and the reproductive system and the circulatory system and the respiratory system, they all evolved to address a problem. So what was the problem with the digestive system? What did we need to happen with the digestive system? Ladies? Hi!
Hey!
Okay.
All right, so what problem was the digestive system an answer to?
The digestive system is the way that our body gets nutrients to the food by breaking down the particles to small enough pieces that it can actually get into the cells.
So Nada, what does the digestive system do?
It breaks down the nutrients and then
Into what size pieces?
really small ones.
Small enough for what?
Small enough to digest to reach the cell.
Yeah, small enough to...
Reach the what?
Yeah.
Cells. Reach the cells.
Okay.
So the digestive system was the answer to the problem. How do we get this huge amount of energy into cell-sized packets, into small enough packets that the cells can use up? So remember, we have 100 trillion cells. And there's way too much energy in our food, but we can break it down mechanically, remember, with just chewing and gurgling our stomach, and chemically. And we get it down to these little pieces that our cells can use. So today we're going to talk about the circulatory system. So why is a circulatory system necessary? What do you think about that?
To get oxygen into the cells.
Okay, so our cells need oxygen. Why is a circulatory system necessary? So that's like the blood and the heart.
To get nutrients in the blood.
So the nutrients in the blood can get to the cells. It carries them from the digestive system to all the cells. So the circulatory system is very necessary. So go ahead and turn it off. Okay, so we're going to start with this agar plate. It's just like Jell-O, and I've cut out this little section of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to pretend like that center is like a tube, part of the digestive system. And we're going to use this dye. So let's use the methylene blue. So we're going to use the dye. So open the dye and then just squirt a bunch of blue in the middle. Oh, wait, first. Oh, that's okay. So first let's predict how long you think it will take for the dye to get to the edges of the plate. How long do you think it'll take? A minute? 10 minutes?
A long time.
A long time? Okay, so go ahead and fill that whole well. Okay, so there's blue dye in there. And right now it's... So let's pretend like the blue dye is the food and the gel is the cell. Okay? Or is like the animal's body, actually. And if the gel is alive, it must get the food. It must get the blue dye. And so in order to stay alive, it has to get that food and gases, the oxygen, like you said, get rid of the carbon dioxide, has to get that every minute. So I've been holding this for about a minute. Is the outside of the gel going to get anything that it needs? No, it's we could leave it till next week and it might not reach the outside. So this is another illustration of why cells have to be so small. Because if they're not super small, things can't diffuse in and out. All right, so it's not going anywhere. So there are some animals that can survive without a circulatory system. like you see this worm, these are heartworms on a dog. When a dog gets heartworms, the worms actually attack the heart. So that's a common thing that dogs die from. But if you see, these worms are like so skinny. So they don't need a circulatory system because the food goes down a tube down the middle of it, and because it's so thin, the nutrients can get to all the cells really fast. So this kind of thing, this kind of plan would work where it's just like a tube in the middle and things can get in and out really quickly because everything's real close. It's a very thin little creature. So that's what we call a one type of body plan for animals. So now we're going to look at another type. So I'm going to kind of cut a little section here around. Whoops! Oh, great. That's why I have extras. Okay, so let's cut that center out again. And this time we'll use the pink just to make it different. So this is the same thing, like this is the food and we need to get it to all parts of the body, okay? And we need it to diffuse. You know that word diffusion? Where the molecules move from one area, an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. And so now I don't want to lift that. I want to make just kind of like a little donut around here. So I don't want to lift that up though. I don't want that sneaking in. Boy, you would not want me to be your surgeon, would you? God, hack job
I was just thinking.
that I
The
couldn't
thing
do
we all
surgery.
didn't use that night.
Oh gosh, after what happened last week. I didn't want to touch anything that could be. Okay, so in this type of plan, a worm, it works because everything's really close together, okay, because everything's really thin. Now, some animals have like a central tube, but then they also have like a secondary space, and we're going to fill that up with water, so you can turn it off. I'm going to put water in to the secondary area. Okay, so how could we quickly get this into the second area? What could we do?
Got a pathway for it? Make a path?
Oh, make a path. Okay, you can do that. Nice. Maybe cut it on the. If you finish that cut too.
Where? Here?
Other side.
Oh, other side. Oh, you could do two paths?
Okay, so now we've kind of made a channel for things to travel in, and we can see that diffusion is a little bit quicker, and if we make a lot of channels, a lot of cuts, then we can see how these nutrients could kind of get to different parts of the cell. So these cuts are kind of like what? Pardon? Tubes, pathways. How about in the circulatory system? What would they kind of be like? Good. Veins, and what's the other? Veins and... Let's look at this heart. We've got veins in blue. And what's in red? They carry blood away from the heart. Good, the arteries, yeah. So the veins and the arteries. So if we want to get this pink, which is the food, throughout the whole cell, then we make a lot of paths. We make a lot of paths for it, and it's going to be able to get to all parts. Now, I want you guys, so go ahead and stop it. So we want to make the whole cell, all the cells. Okay, that's not just one cell, but we want to make all the cells such that it's going to get the food. It's going to get the food or the gases or whatever that we turned the pink into blue. So Zainab's making lots and lots of cuts, and you can see as she makes the cuts how the blue kind of rushes in there. Now, how could you use the
The water?
pipette? How could you use the pipette to make that even go faster?
What do you think?
I guess you could take some of the liquid and distribute it.
Okay. How about if you just leave it in the middle and just squeeze it in and out?
I guess that would force the liquid to go out into our little passageways we've got.
The whole time I'm looking at this one. I'm the worst videotaper.
Oh, are you
My kids-
serious?
My kids will tell me. Look at that. So she's forcing it with the pipette, pushing it in and out. And you see how all the cells now are getting what they need? So in the circulatory system, then what is that like?
The heartbeat?
That's like the heart. It's like the heartbeat. So all the parts of the body, the animal's body, are getting the nutrients. The blue is the nutrients. Okay, so we're going to look at a few things and see how quickly they diffuse. Look at the cell membrane. Okay. The cell membrane, we can get nutrients into the cell membrane in 0.000001.
3.2 years.
So if we only depended on diffusion for our food to get from point A to point B, to go half our height, take 3.2 years, would that be quick enough for us to live? No. No, you need, like, every second you need gas exchange going on. You need nutrient exchange going on. It must be fast. So diffusion works over a very short distance, like the distance of a cell membrane. It works very quickly. But over a long distance, it does not work. All right, so diffusion, which on Canvas there's a link to a very nice little animation about diffusion, so you can look at that. Diffusion works well to transport materials over very small distances, but it takes too long to move materials over large distances. Remember, half of our height, it would take 3.2 years to move the nutrients. That's not fast enough. So we need circulatory systems to make it happen faster. Now some animals, remember, like this little heartworm, they don't need a circulatory system. It happens fast enough because it's just a little thread and the nutrients can diffuse quick enough. So they don't need a circulatory system. But we do, and our circulatory system carries gases, hormones, proteins, nutrients, and carries them throughout the entire body through these passageways, like Zainab was carving into that jello stuff. She was carving little passageways, and those are like our blood vessels. And then she used the pipette like a pump, which represented the heart. So circulatory systems include at least some blood vessels and then some kind of pump. And different animals have different degrees of circulatory systems. So we have, some animals have a 2-chambered heart, a 3-chambered heart, a 4-chambered heart, lots of veins and arteries, just a few veins and arteries. It just depends on the animal, what it is. So, go ahead and start.